All right. In 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now, to my grand surprise, Kotkaniemi is sent down to the Laval Rocket. I'm also going to talk about the most promising Canadiens prospect, all of that and much more coming up next on the Habsnation Podcast. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Matt. Welcome to the Sin Bin, and you are watching the Habsnation Podcast. This is episode 11 for February 2nd, 2020. A lot of twos in there. Anyway, it's very confusing. So, I'm glad you guys decided to join me today. In case you guys don't know what this podcast is about, well, hey, I like the Canadiens. You like the Canadiens. It's basically us talking about the Canadiens. And there's quite a bit of news to talk. Well, I shouldn't say there's quite a bit of news. There's one big news. And we'll get to all of that and much more later. But I will say, in case you guys are listening live, or even for those afterwards who want to do it for the next show, you can type in your questions into the live chat. I know sometimes I sort of get distracted in what I'm saying. I'll try my best to answer those questions and involve you guys, the fan. And in my attempt to involve you guys, the fans, if you follow the Discord link in the description, you can like it and follow the link, and that'll send you to my Discord page where there's a lot of posts that goes on and a lot of fun. And hey, in case you guys want to call, make sure to hit the waiting room, and then I'll get you onto the podcast server. So with all of that being said, and also make sure to follow me on Twitter at thesinbin1996. All right, now that that's out of the way, and I take a good old sip of cranberry juice, good for urinary tract infections, I will say. You may have realized the topic today, the lead topic, we are going to be talking about Kotkaniemi. Hello there, Ghislain. Nice to have you there. So, Ghislain, we are going to be talking about this man here. Let's see. Jesperi Kotkaniemi. Now, your eyes do not deceive you. That is not a Montreal Canadiens jersey. No. Look carefully. That is a Rocket jersey, because as of a few days ago, the Canadiens management made a decision. They saw that Kotkaniemi was performing under expectations, and they decided to send him down to the school team, or the whatever they're called, the farm team. That's the word I'm looking for. The Laval Rocket. Now, what do I think of this whole ordeal? A lot of people are saying it's good news. A lot of people are saying it's bad news. I got to admit, I'm a little half-half here. I'm happy and I'm not happy. I'm happy because I think this is a good move. I don't think that the NHL is a development league, right? It's a league of performance. It's not a league of developments. So that being said, I'm happy they'd sent them down, but I'm a little sour on it too, because this is a move that should have been done from the very beginning. Okay? Now, speaking of from the very beginning, because I know that the Kotkaniemi situation, it's sort of becoming a hot button issue here in Montreal, and it's sort of a sensitive topic, if I may say so myself, because when he first got drafted, as we all know, 3rd overall in the 2018 draft, a lot of people were saying, hey, this guy is our centerman. This guy is our number one centerman for the future. He's going to be super elite. He's going to get a point per game. He's going to be the Canadiens' answer to Barkov. Okay? That was after the draft happened. So I will tell you guys, you got to be careful. It's not a little bit hard. It's extremely hard to project prospects, to see where they are when they're 16 or 17 or 18, and project where they're going to be when they're, in their prime, which is 22, 23, 24, 25, so on and so forth. Okay, so my thing I'm going to tell you guys, and I'm going to tell Ghislain, who's listening in the chat right now, is that if you decide to go and listen to experts, and I'm including myself here because I don't think I'm an expert, make sure to take it with a grain of salt, because the practice of projecting a prospect, it is extremely difficult. Now, I made a video because I see Justin talking about the problem Montreal is the hype. I made a video quite a while ago where I made sure to follow Kotkaniemi a sufficient amount, I would say, prior to the draft and a little bit afterwards, because I wanted to see what type of player this is going to be. And I don't want to sound too negative on this video and on this topic as a whole, but I will say a lot of people were saying that Kotkaniemi was the poster boy of recency bias. Now, what do I mean from that? Well, Kotkaniemi, prior to the draft, he was in a tournament, and I apologize, the name of the tournament is escaping me. I think it's the under 15, whatever. No, I forget the name, but that doesn't really matter. He was representing Finland. I think it was the Helinka Grixki, actually. So he's representing Finland, and he does gangbusters, right? He does absolutely great. And that tournament alone, and how long is a tournament, guys? Like 6, 7, 8 games? Those 8 games alone, that little window, made Kotkaniemi's stock rise from here to here. He is the poster boy of recency bias. So the Canadiens go on, they go to draft him 3rd overall, and I want you guys to pay close attention to this following draft. This graph, I should say. So this is a table. It's from mynhldraft.com, and it compiles 4 experts. One is from ESPN, one is from Dober Prospects, one is from McKeen's Hockey, and the other one is from Hockey Prospects. And these are their projections prior to the draft, right? This is their prospect draft rankings. This is who they thought the prospects, what the order should be. So, as you can see, all 4 of the experts, they said Rasmus Dahlin. There, he's the consensus number 1 pick. They also chose Andrei Svechnikov as the consensus number 2 pick. Now we get to the 3rd position. Let me zoom in a little bit here. So the 3rd position, which was obviously the Canadiens' position, Chris Peters from ESPN, he says Zadina. Okay. Cam Robinson from Dober Prospects, he says Quinn Hughes. Right? McKeen's Hockey, they say Zadina. Hockey Prospect, they say Brady Tkachuk. So keep in mind, guys, these aren't like nobodies, okay? These aren't people on YouTube like me who don't know their ass from a hole in the ground. Like, not to be so self-deprecative, but I'm not a scout. I'm not a professional scout. I'm not a hockey expert, okay? I speak sort of from what I see from everyone else, and I try to compile everyone else's opinion. So from these 4, I'll repeat it, experts. These aren't Joe Blows on the internet. They said that the Canadiens projected they should have drafted Quinn Hughes, they should have drafted Brady Tkachuk, and then 2 of them says they should have drafted Zadina. Now, Ghislain, if I were to pause and answer the chat here, he says Kotkaniemi, Poehling needs development to become the best player they could be. Yeah, I'll get to that later. And make sure if you guys have any other questions, make sure to type it down and I'll try my best to answer that. So back to the famous graph here. So they say that Philip Zadina, Quinn Hughes, Zadina again, and Tkachuk, according to 4 of the prospects, or 4 of the prospects of the NHL professionals, that's who the Canadiens should have drafted. Now, where did Kotkaniemi rank on their lists? Well, if you look at Chris Peters of ESPN, Kotkaniemi, prior to the draft, he was projected 8th. Cam Robinson, he projected him 7th. McKeen's Hockey, whoa, I have to go down here. He has him 13th. And if you go to the last guy, Hockey Prospects, he projects him 8th. So, despite drafting Kotkaniemi 3rd overall, a lot of the experts had him in like the 8th, the 9th, the 10th range, okay? Am I saying that the Canadiens drafting Kotkaniemi is a reach? Absolutely. Here is the mistake of the Canadiens. They drafted based on position. This was a time where they were sort of low on centers, if you remember. Danault was their first-line center at the end of the 2018 year, and I mean, nothing against Danault, but for me, he's more of a number 2, and I think the Canadiens management saw that, so they were in dire need for centermans. This is the problem when you draft according to position. Maybe you're in need for a centerman now. And as is the case for the current edition of the Canadiens, their biggest need, I think everyone will agree, is a left-handed defenseman. 3 years down the road, 4 years down the road, will their need still be a left-handed defenseman? No, we don't know. Things might change. They might get someone through trade. They might get someone through free agency. There might be a prospect in their prospect pool who comes out of nowhere and who dominates. Who knows? So prior to the 2018 draft, the Canadiens desperately needed a centerman. If you were to look at the Canadiens now, which is barely a year later, Is their biggest need a centerman? No. I mean, they have Suzuki, who I think he's their most promising prospect at this point. I absolutely love Nick Suzuki's game. We're going to get to him later. They also have Paling in their prospect pool. And they have Danault, who we forget, he's still a pretty young player. A lot of people say he should be winning the Selke, or be nominated at least. Is their biggest need centerman? No. I would say at this point, their biggest need is a left-handed defenseman or a winger. So, looking back at the 2018 draft, why reach all the way to the 10th range? Why reach all the way there, according to the experts, and take Jesperi Kotkaniemi? Again, I don't want to be overly negative, but this is something I was saying a while ago. This is something I was saying right after he was drafted. That was the first mistake. Drafting according to position. That was their first mistake. Justin says Suzuki is the first line center Habs are looking for. Absolutely. I mean, I look at Suzuki, I see the skill, I see the vision, I see the elite vision, comparable to some of the best stars in this league. And I'm like, yeah, that's a future first line center. And if you saw the Florida game yesterday, you saw him rip it top cheese. I mean, that is one hell of a shot. For someone who's labeled as a playmaker, that is one hell of a shot. So I talked about their second mistake, which was drafting according to position. Here's their second mistake, and that is playing him right off. So when they decided to play Kotkaniemi after his draft year, Saku Koivu came out. And, or my apologies, I think that was more recently, but Koivu did come out. Old captain of the Montreal Canadiens, number 11, one of my idols growing up. And he went to the media and he said, hey guys, I don't think this was a good idea. Kotkaniemi's young. He has a very frail body. I think that he could have benefited from getting a few years in juniors or a few years in the AHL. What does Marc Bergevin do? He says, well, on what is Saku Koivu basing this? What is he basing this on? I am the expert. I looked at Saku Koivu's comments and I said, I agree with this guy. It's absolutely true. If you look at Kotkaniemi, his age, his frame, and his skill set where it was at, he was not ready to play in the NHL. It was a complete boneheaded move to play Kotkaniemi in the NHL. Sure, I'll give you one thing. His rookie year, it started off pretty decent. Okay? He had a cute little beginning there, but as the year went along, it kind of got harder and harder. And this year, his sophomore year, it's been completely garbage. I mean, if you try to find positive out of Kotkaniemi's year, this year, you're insane. It's been absolutely garbage. So now they decided to send him down. Okay? Excuse me, if he's not ready now, he wasn't ready a year ago. The wise decision would have been to send him down. Right? Do you guys agree with me, or am I talking to air here? Justin says, so if I understand, we should have taken Quinn Hughes or Brady Tkachuk. Yeah, look, Justin, whoever they determined to be the best player, that's who they should have taken. I'm not in the Canadiens management, and I'm not behind closed doors with Trevor Timmins and Shane Corla and Marc Bergevin when they're making the decisions, but I will tell you something. I severely doubt they drafted Kotkaniemi because they believed he was the best player. As you saw in the projections, he wasn't projected to go number 3, where they were drafting. He was more so along the lines of an 8, 9, 10, 11. That one guy even had him 13th. So, the fact that they draft him, I'm willing to bet anything it was because of position. They felt a lack at the center position, so they drafted him. That is a mistake. I don't care if, I'm trying to give an example here. I don't care if all of my defensemen are Erik Karlsson. At the draft, at my position, if the best player is a defenseman, I'm going to take him. Even if all the defensemen on my team, they're all started defensemen like Erik Karlsson, I'm going to take a defenseman if he's the best player. Hey, and if you don't need him and you have a surplus, just trade him away. The Canadiens made a severe mistake drafting according to position. Okay, so to sort of conclude things, I mean, I'm happy that they decided to send him down. I mean, there's no use playing him right now, huh? Look, the struggles, and who's he going to play with? Nick Cousins, and with all due respect to Nick Cousins, he's going to gain so much more experience if he were to go down in Laval, and I want him to play in every situation. Okay? I want him to play on the power play. I want him to play on the penalty kill. I didn't watch his first game with the Rocket. He did pick up an assist. I think that he played the point, actually, on the power play, if my eyes weren't deceiving me. I want to see him in every game situation, okay? Justin says lack of depth. He says, is why Kotkaniemi is in the NHL. That's true. The Canadiens did lack depth, but I'm not willing to say that's the reason they decided to play him right off. Justin, I'm about to tell you one of my fears, one of my biggest fears, and I really hope the Canadiens didn't do this, but I sort of have a feeling this is what they did. If you recall, the Canadiens obviously had a very bad season. That's how they managed to draft Kotkaniemi third overall. A lot of the season ticket holder and a lot of the lodge holders, they didn't want to renew their tickets. Okay? I am really scared, and I fear, and I really hope I'm wrong on this, that the Canadiens decided to play Kotkaniemi sort of as a marketing tool. As like a, hey guys, come watch the fresh young talent. Come watch the next Barkov. Come spend more money. When in reality, the wise decision, which maybe it's not going to give you as much money, but it would have been to send him back to Finland, to be honest. Maybe send him back to the AHL. And that's my opinion. And like you said, Nick Cousins, fourth line players, third line at best. Yeah. And obviously, I did say Kotkaniemi playing with Nick Cousins stifles him. But the problem is, he doesn't deserve to play with anyone else. Does he deserve to play up there with Gallagher? No. No, his play hasn't been up to par. So he goes down to the Rocket. He gets an assist. It wasn't like a beautiful assist where he did all of the work. It was sort of a secondary assist where he was playing the point and he passed to the defenseman who passed it back to another player and he shot and scored. So it wasn't like a groundbreaking assist. I will say, and I repeat, I didn't watch the game. So I don't know how much he dominated. I don't know what it was, but you got to think, having played having all of that experience in the NHL, he should be dominating in the AHL. Okay, I want to see complete and total domination. There is absolutely no excuse to not dominate at this point, and I will tell you, as long as we're talking about prospects, Paling, he's the next one to go. I gotta say, I do like what the Canadiens are doing here. Earlier in the week, they sent down Cale Fleury, who I thought was playing decent, but I'm not opposed to sending him down. And I'll tell you why in a second. But now they send Kotkaniemi down. You gotta think, the next one to go down, once Drouin comes back or once Byron comes back, I don't think there's going to be any room for Paling. I'd much rather see him play in Laval. I keep wanting to say Hamilton because that was the old farm team. I'd much rather see him play in Laval, where, similarly to Kotkaniemi, he's going to get the big minutes, the big matchups. He's going to get that experience because I will reiterate myself. The NHL is not a development league. So he's going to get that experience. And, hey, they're making a push for the playoffs there in Laval. They're going to need all the pieces they can get. I don't mind seeing them make a push for the championship. It sort of reminds me of that year, and I don't know if you guys were like me, but I had a membership, a subscription to the Canadiens magazines, the official magazine. I don't have it anymore. This was when I was like 10 or 11 or 12 or whatever it may be. And I remember with each magazine, there came a poster of a different Canadiens player. So 1 year there was Kovalev, 1 month there was Kovalev. The next month there was Sheldon Souray, yada, 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 yada. I remember the cover of one of the magazines, they featured the players on the Hamilton Bulldogs, the 5 main players who were the 5 key pieces to the Hamilton Bulldogs winning the Calder Trophy. And who were those players? Carey Price, Ryan O'Byrne, I think one of them was Kyle Chipchura, and one of them was Kostitsyn, and I apologize, I'm forgetting the other one. Maybe it was the other Kostitsyn, okay? But what's my point in all of this? I really want to see the Canadiens do what they did that one year, where they sent all of their most promising prospects in the farm team to develop and to win together collectively. That's really what I want to see. Because it's much better for a player to develop under a winning environment than on the Canadiens currently, where they have trouble winning against Columbus, as it is right now, if you guys are watching that game. Justin says, I agree, Paling 2 and Laval, so they can make a push for the AHL playoffs. No, I think Plekanec claimed before. I think it was the other Kostitsyn, actually. Two Kostitsyns, Ryan O'Byrne, Carey Price, and Kyle Chipchura. And speaking of Carey Price, actually, he came out in the media talking about Kotkaniemi. And he says, listen, guys, hold on. He says, listen, guys, I know this is unfortunate, but the fact of the matter is Kotkaniemi, he has all of the tools to thrive in the NHL. He just needs to go back and get his confidence back and retool his game. But he actually compared him to himself. Carey Price did. He compared him to when he was sent down to the AHL, to the farm team. He said he was a little discouraged, but he came back, and we see Carey Price now. He was and maybe is still one of the best goalies in the game. So I don't want you guys to think for a second that just because he got sent down, Kotkaniemi, that he's ruined. Do I think he's ever going to be as good as Tkachuk? No. Do I ever think he's going to be good as Quinn Hughes? No. I don't even think he's going to plateau as high as Zadina. But I will tell you, the fact that he's being sent down, that doesn't mean he's over. Alright, far from it. Just says Sergei Kostitsyn. Yeah, I think it was Sergei Kostitsyn. He also said Plekanec, Pacioretty, did they win the Calder too? That's a good question. I don't think they did. I hate to say it, but the Canadiens farm team, they rarely ever make a push. I'm highly disappointed. In the first 2 or 3 years of Bouchard, I've been disappointed in the results for the AHL farm team. But I think it's a little bit different this year. Actually, now that we're talking about it, let me look at the standings. AHL standings. It's gonna give me an idea where the Laval Rockets actually are, and how those young players are doing. Because remember, there's still guys like Jake Evans. There's still guys like the goalie Caden Primo. So let's see. As of right now, the Laval Rocket are 4th in the North Division with 50 points. Can I see a league? Okay, or a conference actually. I'm assuming they still work by the wild cards. Or maybe not. Maybe it's the first 8. So you see Laval, they're 10th in their conference. They're very well alive in the fight. And hey, adding Kotkaniemi, adding Paling, adding what's his name? Fleury. Sorry. It's only a matter of time before Paling gets sent down. I hope you realize. But that'll only help their chances. Let's face it. I was a little bit happy. One quality I would say about Kotkaniemi is that he always seems to have a positive attitude, right? He doesn't seem to get down on many issues. So I think he won't be negative with being sent down. I don't think he's going to see it as a punishment, even though it kind of sort of is, but not really. He's going to take it with positivity, and he's going to go down there. And after last night's game, he said, that was my favorite game of the year. He had a lot of fun. So maybe at this point, even the player, he's acknowledging that maybe the NHL, it's a little bit beyond his abilities right now. He needs to go develop in the development league, which is the AHL, and we'll see how he comes out of it. Not too many people in the viewers. I guess it's the whole Super Bowl thing. I gotta say, I am so clueless about the Super Bowl. I just learned yesterday who the two teams were. One is Kansas, and the other one I don't even remember. But let's go Kansas, I guess. As promised, I did want to talk about the Canadiens prospects. There are 2 prospects right now. If I were to, give you guys my rankings or whatever it's called, these two sit at the top, and I think they're pretty much tied. But I wanted to talk respectively about Romanov, and I wanted to talk about Suzuki. Let's start off with the Zookmeister General, because it's beyond the halfway point of the season, right? And you guys may recall with Kotkaniemi, it was around this point where he was sort of showing signs of fatigue, right? He was getting clobbered left and right. He was falling down, because we all know he has the balance of a baby zebra. I gotta say, with Suzuki, that point hasn't hit yet. He still looks like he's very comfortable, okay? And I think that he can develop a lot of chemistry with his line mates right now, who are currently Armia and Kovalchuk. Two big guys, and I love to see size on the Canadiens. But anyway, I really like what I see with Suzuki. I gotta say, he played through preseason, and I'm one of those, I say, preseason is nice, but it's not indicative of the NHL on the regular season basis. You know, where the tempo's accelerated, the hits are harder, people are actually trying. So I said, this is all fun and dandy, he's doing well in the preseason. Let's see how he suits up in the regular season. And I gotta say, he surpassed every single one of my expectations. People said he was too slow. I don't think that's an issue. Okay? It's not so much that he's blazing fast. It's just that he uses his smarts and his vision and his hockey IQ to work around the fact that he's not maybe the fastest player out there. And I think that works to his advantage. I was watching last night the Battle of Alberta. Oh, holy crap, what a game, by the way. Talbot and Mike Smith going at it. Mike Smith giving Talbot a knuckle sandwich. Anyway, I'm watching Edmonton last night, and I'm watching Draisaitl. Draisaitl plays on a line with McDavid, the fastest player in the league, and I will repeat it, the fastest player in the league. I know Matt Barzal won at the All-Star game, but I will still say, with the puck at least, McDavid is the fastest player on the league. He plays with Leon Draisaitl. Is Draisaitl a speed demon? Is he a speed burner? No, he kind of has a more awkward skating style, if I might say so, actually. So why is it that someone who's a little bit slower, like Leon Draisaitl, he's able to play with a speed demon like McDavid? It's all up here. It's hockey smarts. Being smart at hockey, okay, having vision and having IQ, that can compensate for not having speed. I'll bring it up again. I know I always bring it up and I sound like a broken record, but Andrei Markov, he had 2 knee injuries. I was actually at one of the games where he suffered one of the injuries at the hands of Eric Stahl. It was against Carolina. He went in the boards, injured his knee. By the end of those injuries, he wasn't a fast player anymore. He wasn't the same player. But why was he still able to be the most consistent defenseman on the Canadiens, one of their best defensemen? Because of his smarts. He was able to use his IQ to walk around the fact that he doesn't have the best foot speed. I view that in Suzuki, is what I'm getting to. Suzuki will be very sustainable in this league because we see a lot of speedier players. One of them is on his line, Kovalchuk. Kovalchuk back in the day when he was with the Thrashers, and he was a speed demon. He was ripping up the league, and he was tearing it apart. And then, players get older, and they slow down. And they're so used to being fast their whole life that once they slow down, they're just not the same player. I gotta say, with Suzuki, being able to have the awareness to work around the fact that he's not the fastest player, I think that's an indication of sustainability in this league. And I mean, if you're as sort of down as I was about Kotkaniemi, I'm the complete opposite about Suzuki. I absolutely love what I'm seeing with this player. And hey, not to go back on it, but Suzuki, we like what we're seeing from him as a Canadiens fan. Did he play right after his draft year? No. He was drafted in 2017. He played a few games in the Vegas night training camp because, as you recall, they're the team that drafted him. They sent him back down to Owen Sound. When the Canadiens got him through acquisition, did they play him right off? No, I think he played till the last of the preseason games, and they decided to send him down. He played with Owen Sound, and then he later got traded to the Guelph Storm. This guy has a lot of experience on his resume. Why do you think when you apply for a job, they want experience? It's the same with hockey. Okay? With all due respect to Kotkaniemi, and I still think he's a very valuable second-line center at the most. He didn't have the experience to play in the NHL. Look at Zadorov. He tried to rip his head off. Do I think it was the cleanest of hits? No, but the fact of the matter is, if Kotkaniemi was NHL size and of NHL balance, he wouldn't have succumbed that injury. So that's sort of what I think. Whoever is listening in the chat, I think it's just you and I. Just make sure to type in if you have any questions, any concerns. If you want to go off topic, that's absolutely fine. If you want to call in, make sure to follow the Discord link. Second one I wanted to talk about, Romanov. And I'm going to end it here. And yeah, no, absolutely. Kotkaniemi is still 19. He is still 19. A lot of people are calling him a bust. I never called him a bust. I never said that. Okay? Everything I'm saying now about Kotkaniemi, I was saying about him when he was on the platform in, Dallas? When he got drafted in 2018. So, it's absolutely true. He is still 19 years old. Let's just all breathe. Let him develop. Or lack thereof. Alexander Romanov. Speaking of the 2018 draft, I gotta say, the Canadiens management, I'm not overly thrilled with their high picks. I'm not overly thrilled with their first overall picks in general. If you look at their past few years, it's kind of been sort of abysmal. I gotta say, where Trevor Timmins makes his bones here, where he makes his marks, it's really in the later rounds, which is from 2 to 7. Alexander Romanov, drafted 38th overall in 2018. It kind of came as a gasp from the whole audience. They were like, wow, this guy? I know a lot of people didn't know him, but he was actually ranked much lower. They were saying maybe the 3rd round. The Canadiens, and Trevor Timmins and Shane Corla, they saw him, and they saw something what a lot of people didn't see. And that is the potential to control games, to control the tempo of a game. I love him. I got to admit still, as is the case with me and other people on the internet, take it with a grain of salt, the only real experience I have of Alexander Romanov is a few clips I've seen from him playing with SKA Moscow and his World Junior Championships, both of the World Junior Championships, because he played both. This past one, he was a little bit more of an overage player. He was a 19-year-old player. I think he should have won the Defenseman of the Tournament. It actually went to Rasmus Sandin, who you can see him currently on the Maple Leafs roster, filling out that spot vacant by Morgan Riley. I think that Romanov was absolutely the best defenseman in that tournament. One thing that's really surprising of him is his ability to use the body, because he's not an overly big player. He's only 5'11". But some people are 5'11" and they're just chunky. You know, they just have the ability to knock opposing players on their asses. And I was completely thrilled. I was completely shocked at the fact that he would go prep a big hit against someone who was much bigger than him. Right? That's something that I found very, very pleasant to see. Like, imagine Mete going for a hit on Alexander Ovechkin. No, it's never going to happen. Romanov, he sort of has that frame and that physicality to do so. Justin, he's asking, do you believe that the Habs is missing the most killer instinct? Example, put the goal who stole the energy of the other. Wait, hold on. Do you believe that the Habs is missing the most? What the Habs is missing the most is the killer instinct. Example, put the goal who stole the energy of the other team. You know what? I'll tell you what the Habs are missing the most. And I think this is what you're saying also. Okay? I'm going to use this as an example. These are the top 10 selling jerseys reported by the NHL PR department. We talked a little bit about this on the Friday show, but I'm just going to use this to prove my point. All right? Number 1, Crosby. A superstar. Elite. Number 2 is Vladimir Tarasenko. Okay, he might not be the huge superstar, but that's kind of an anomaly because he's riding the wave of the Blues winning the Stanley Cup. So that's why he's number 2 in Stales. But that doesn't matter. Number 3, Alexander Ovechkin, superstar. Number 4, Connor McDavid, superstar. Absolute superstar. 5, Bergeron, superstar. Matthews is a superstar. Fleury, he's a star. Sagan's a superstar. Kane is a superstar. Jamie Benn is a superstar. Okay, whether or not you agree with me on who's a superstar or not, look at the top 10. Can you believe it that in a market like Montreal, where they are just nuts about hockey, there are no Canadiens player in that top 10? Not Carey Price, not Shea Weber, not no one. Why is that? They have no superstars. Like you were saying, Gis, they have no people, they have no players who can just take over a game and put on their shoulders and say, hey, we need a goal, I'm going to go score a goal. They don't have that superstar, and it's going to hurt them. I don't know if you guys are still watching the Canadiens. I know it's sort of depressing, but I was over there watching the Columbus game. And they're down by 1 with a couple of minutes left, or a couple of seconds actually. They don't have that player who you can just put on the ice and who can absolutely steal the game and put on his back and say, guys, we need a goal. There's only a few seconds left. Boom, let's score a goal. It's not. They don't have it, and they need it. They absolutely need it. This is why when you have a draft, don't draft according to position. Don't draft a guy who's going to be like a decent second-line center, but he fills your center role. No, go for the player who's going to be a beast. Go for the guy who's going to be a maniac. Go for the guy who's going to sell a lot of jerseys. Because selling jerseys, I'm not saying it from a marketing perspective. That means he's a superstar. The players like it, the fans like him. That's what the Canadiens need to do. Now, I get it. Easier said than done. But this is what I'm going to say. There is a high chance that the Canadiens draft in the top 10 this upcoming year. All right? Usually I would say if you want a really good player, a superstar quality player, you need to be drafting in the top 5. Now, this year is sort of an exception. It's a more deeper draft. Okay? They cannot fuck up this pick. I'm telling you right off. If they screw up this one pick, because we know them when they pick in the top 3 or whatever it may be, they don't always have the best of results, right? They cannot screw this up because I am losing absolute hope. Shazam says, glad to see you here, buddy. He says, Super Bowl night, end your stream. Yeah, look, listen, I'm not that big on the Super Bowl. For me, it's a bunch of people throwing a ball. I do that with my 2-year-old nephew. I gotta say, the only part of the Super Bowl that I'm looking forward to is seeing Shakira rub it against Jennifer Lopez. Those are 2 very good-looking women. But with that being said, thanks for the reminder because I got to run here. I got to go pack. So I appreciate you guys. It's pretty much just saying, but you too, Shazam, for joining us here at the last minute. I hope you guys enjoyed episode 11 of the Habsnation Podcast. We talked about Kotkaniemi. We talked a little bit about Suzuki. We talked a little bit about Romanov. There's going to be an episode. Make sure to tune in every Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time live and type in your question in the live chat or call in via Discord. If you guys want to join me, you can do it via social media on Twitter at TheSinbin1996. Or if you have any concerns, any questions, any topics you want to talk about, you can also do it via Gmail. So on behalf of everyone who listened, my name is Matt. I appreciate you guys coming out on the Super Bowl weekend. Go Kansas and keep your